Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Jay, and you're watching From Inside Out. Welcome, everybody, to the podcast From Inside Out. I'm your host, Jay. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I do very much appreciate it. In today's broadcast, I'm going to be doing showing you all a interview that was conducted by a very highly respected individual. She's based out in Russia, of all places. So we do have that. That's awesome. So I'm actually pretty amazed how this interview went, and I'm really liking how she asked the questions and all of that. But keep in mind, during the process of this video, when you guys watch this interview, she was having obviously some type of internet or connection issues on her end, so she would cut in and out. That was beyond my control, so I do apologize on that and apologize for her situation on her end. But she raised some great questions, and I believe that I answered them truthfully and honestly to the best of my knowledge. So if you guys like this video with this interview and all of that, please put your comments down below and let me know what you think of this interview and this video. And if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns regarding this or anything in the past that I've done, please put it down in the chat box, or you can email me guys right now at voicesfrominsideout@gmail.com. Again, our email to contact us is voicesfrominsideout@gmail.com. All right. Make sure you put the email down just like it sounds. All one word, by the way. That way I get the email and we can go from there. If you have show ideas or content idea, or you want something to be talked about on this podcast, drop me a line and let me know what's up. We have an office phone now, a business phone. I will be sharing that in the description of this video too as well. Get a hold of me. Let's do something, and let's keep our voices heard out there. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the interview with this fine lady. Again, she's in Russia. She lives in Russia. So my podcast is being reached all the way in Russia, of all places. So that's pretty cool. Pretty big milestone. So let's go ahead and get into the interview. And again, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns regarding this, please let us know and we can take it from there. Thanks for joining, and I hope you guys enjoy the interview. Let's go ahead and watch it.
Hello, dear Jay. Thank you for agreeing to this interview, and please tell our viewers and readers what you do.
Hi, yes, ma'am, and thank you very much for having me and giving me this opportunity to have my voice be heard. I do appreciate that. First off, I go by Jay on my podcast. I'm a prison activist over here in the United States, and what I do is I help advocate for prisoners, and I help them out with all the bad and negative things that are going on inside of our prisons, and there's a lot of bad stuff going on.
What do you think is the reason for the formation of a real police state in the United States, and what could it lead to, and how does it affect the lives of ordinary citizens?
Well, thank you for the question. I appreciate that. First off, I say to my viewers on my podcast, on my YouTube channel, that the corruption inside of our prisons is very, very deep. How deep? Well, there really is no answer to that question, how far and how deep it goes. But believe me, when I say it's bad, it's bad. Like right now, we're going to get into the spring/summer months here in the deep south, and we're going to end up having AC problems. People are going to people are going to pass away from heat exhaustion inside of our prisons. And that's just one thing. We're dealing with the food problems. We're dealing with health and mental health problems. So many things that needs to be brought to our attention. So there's a major amount of prison reform that we need to take care of.
Would you say that one of the biggest contributing factors to the growth of a police state in the United States is the so-called war on drugs unleashed at the end of the last century?
That's a major factor. Yes, ma'am.
For the year 2021, the highest number of Americans died of drug overdoses in the United States compared to the previous years, reflecting the development of a deadly epidemic. What do you think those statistics indicate?
Well, that's a good question, and I haven't really focused on the drug issues itself. What I try to focus on mostly is what is going on and why crime happens in the first place, why our prisons are so full, and other factors. But you brought up a good question. I just don't really have a good answer for you for right now for that one. Sorry, I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. You do amazing work. I love your podcast, especially the one that you sent me, because you go into your analysis to trying to figure out what the actual reason why people commit crime. And I love that part about that adults till some certain age, they're just not enough mature and they still are responsible for their actions, but mentally they're not there yet to be responsible. This is
Yes.
very good what you're doing. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And I hit on that because that's actually backed up by science data.
Yeah.
The human brain itself, as you probably know, is not actually fully developed until about age 25, give or take. So, and that's another reason why our prisons are so full, because usually it's mostly the young folks or the young youth that are in our jails and our prisons. And you don't really see a lot of people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s in there. So that just tells you what's going on right there.
Unless they got big sentence when they were before 25, then you would see them.
Yes, ma'am. No, you're correct. No, if you've been in there long enough and you gotten to that age, then that's the different story. But I'm saying doing crime at that age, like say 60 and on up, people committing crimes, it's rare. The most people that commit crimes are the young youth.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Why do you think the major U.S. media often ignore the shocking numbers about deaths, violence, and suicides in the U.S. prison and temporary detention centers?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
You got cut out a little bit. Apologize.
It's okay. Why do you think the major U.S. media often ignore the shocking numbers
Well,
about violence and suicides in the United States prisons and temporary detention centers?
Well, I think I've hit that too on my podcast. I think the major news media outlets don't want to report a lot of the stuff that's going on inside of our prisons because sometimes, believe it or not, this is fact, truth hurts and it goes against their ratings and their popularity, if you will. So they won't report stuff like this. It has to be reported by people like us, the low class journalism. Not the major news outlets, because again, it's not a popular topic when it comes to prison.
I actually would call you like independent journalists. Those voices of truth, that are not that many left in these difficult times.
Yes, ma'am. And the reason, I'm sorry to cut you off, and the reason being is because with me, I tell the truth. I keep the facts real. I don't hype it up. I don't do quote unquote Hollywood type stuff. And we get such a low grade, credit that nobody really looks at us. It takes us seriously until it happens to them. So
I think they do. It's just the problem that they are afraid of people like us, and that's the problem. Instead of uniting, people are still trying to divide in order to be controlled or something. I don't know. Anyway,
yes,
I'm gonna go on with my questions. Why is the use of confinement so widespread in the United States, even though the UN and several other international organizations regard it as a torture?
Again, the question got cut off, so can you please repeat that again? I apologize.
Yeah. Why is the use of solitary confinement so widespread in the United States, even though the UN and several other international organizations regard it as torture?
Again, great question. And I did a podcast on solitary confinement with my locked up loved one. And I should have sent you that one too. But nonetheless, it's very popular out here in our prisons. And here's why. Number one, they use it for control tactics and whatnot. Even though the person or persons are already in jail or prison, they send you into another little small confined area to punish you even more for, acting up or doing whatever it is that you got in trouble for. It's a control tactic for our staff members in there because they don't want to deal with you. It's like throw you away and ignore you so they don't have to deal with you. Solitary confinement is a very big time mental abuse, and we're trying to do what we can to get laws passed to abolish the segregation. It is absolutely inhumane.
In your experience, by the way, did you have to face solitary confinement?
Believe it or not, unfortunately, I never went to the hole. I never had to go to the hole, even though but again, it's all politics. I want to keep that in the mix here because, again, you have to understand that how do I put it? If you hang out with the wrong crowds and do stuff that the staff don't like you to do, then your chances of going to hole and whatnot are pretty big. If you keep yourself busy and stay out of the negative side of prison, you won't go to the hole. So it's all a mental job. You gotta basically balance it out, if that makes any sense, so you don't have to go to the hole. Stay out of the hype, stay out of the drama, and you'll be all right.
Why do you think the U.S. prison system intensive use of prisoners' labor through multi-billion-dollar contracts with private companies? Doesn't it violate international agreements against slavery?
It does. That's actually that's a 13th Amendment, I think, and also there's an 8th Amendment violation too going on here when it comes to other stuff. So you're absolutely correct. Yes, but again, getting these violations taken care of from a legal aspect, you have to understand that a lot of people will pick them up or take them to a court setting. A lot of these cases get dismissed, but we got to continue to do what we do. Even though there's a lot of intimidation, there's a lot of fear factor, there's a lot of other things going on that make people not want to do these type of cases. D.O.C., as you probably know, can do a lot of fear mongering. Oh, don't do this or don't do that, or we'll retaliate against your locked up loved one, and that happens in there. So you got to basically play it by ear, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Have you encountered censorship, artificial restrictions of freedom of speech because of your activities?
Again, can you repeat that, please?
Have you encountered censorship or artificial restrictions on freedom of speech because of your activities?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it, please.
Yes, ma'am. I've had multiple platforms, not the ones that you see currently right now, but I've had things like Facebook and some of the other platforms, and I've gotten shut down thanks to the trolls and the haters because they don't like me and what I do. And if you know about Facebook like I do, the owner, Mark Zuckerberg, not trying to get him all hyped up here, but he's the one that doesn't believe in First Amendment or for free speech. So he shuts down people when we bring truth to the table. So we're actually a big threat to him in a sense. So
U.S. police officers are being arrested for various crimes related to bestiality and pedophilia. Do future role of law undergo any psychiatric examinations?
And again, ma'am, for some reason you keep cutting out. So repeat, please.
Yeah. U.S. police officers are being arrested for various crimes related to bestiality and pedophilia. Do future candidates for the role of law enforcement officers not undergo any psychiatric examinations?
Yeah, well, the police are just as corrupt as D.O.C. And I've had my fair share in run-ins with the police here in my states. I'm going to pause that right there. Now, I know you guys are probably going to get in the chat and understand that these questions from her, with all due respect from her, were somewhat pretty hard to understand what she was trying to tell me. She's definitely Russian. I have nothing against her. Her English is, good in a sense, but it's to the point where it was hard for me to understand some of the questions. Not to mention, you can see without any hesitation, she was having connection issues. She kept freezing up and getting cut off during her questioning. So I want you guys to understand that I tried my best to answer these questions how I interpreted them. Does that make sense? So I want you guys to understand that I'm not trying to ignore or go around or beat around the bush or, not to answer the questions like I should have. But I believe during this interview, doing with the connection issue and the lack of understanding her speech, played a part in me not answering the questions like they should have. But again, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not beating her up. I'm not beating myself up. I respect her highly. And she did completely well for this podcast or for this interview for the first time that I've done an interview with this lady. So again, understand that in these type of situations, it's always going to be a hiccup. These things don't run smoothly. So understand I answered these questions as best I could for the duration of this interview. So I hope you guys can understand that and, understand where I'm coming from on that. So here's some more of this interview. And they're in such dire need of retraining, and all of that they think, just like D.O.C, they think they're above the law and they're above me and above you and all of that. So if I don't stick to my actions, they would walk all over you. So I'm very versed in the laws. I'm very knowledgeable. And when I talk to these officers, whoever they are, cop or D.O.C, they don't like me. Just because of the simple fact of what I can say and what I do and what I know.
Often police officers who violate the rights and freedoms of ordinary citizens by breaking into their homes and pointing guns at them are exempted from prosecution due to a conditional immunity law established by the Supreme Court in 1982 and designed to protect public officials. Don't you think this law needs to be revised or repealed?
I think it needs to be fixed. Yes, I get so sick and tired of seeing the cops violate, going into people's homes without a search warrant, violating people's rights all the way across the board. So, yeah, I think it needs majorly fixed.
Why do you think Biden's nearly doubling of funding for law enforcement recruitment has not brought any results? Why does the American president think that any problems can be solved by simply flooding them with money?
Political question. All right. No, you're good. To be honest with you, to be honest with you, ma'am, I'm not a Biden supporter in any way, shape, or form. So I try not to get political on these things. But for this interview, and respectfully, I do not like what Biden is doing at all. Period. And I'm just going to leave it at that. No offense.
Okay, you're not the one. There are many people who share the same opinion about what's happening, and especially of defunding police and so on. It's just like we see he's doing absolutely opposite. And I don't know what U.S. is going to turn into military country or something. We will see. Only time will show.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what needs to be done in the near future to reform the police and prison systems?
Oh, man. That's a mouthful. I'll put it this way to you. We can't do both at the same time, obviously. What we need to focus on personally is one at a time, get that one fixed, and then move on to the next one. There's a lot of complex issues going on both things that you mentioned: police, D.O.C, and prisons. And we got to focus on one. Obviously, we need to bring a lot of attention and reform to our prisons, because we are, believe it or not, and I don't know where you guys stand in your country when it comes to mass incarceration, but in our country right now, we are the number one, and that's bad, the number one country for mass incarceration. That's correct. So we got to nip it in the butt somehow. There's a reason why we are number one, and I don't want to be number one anymore. I'm sick of it, to be honest with you. So basically, what we're getting at is that if we can fix the problem, what causes it in the first place, I think that's a great start.
Have you figured what's the problem that causes it?
Yeah, I think I've narrowed it down to a couple of things. One is it starts in the home.
Absolutely.
It starts in the home with our young youth, our kids, our teenagers. We were all teenagers at one time, right? We all acted up. We were mouthy. We were disrespectful to our parents. But I think a lot of the this kicking them out, hitting the streets, letting them just do what they want is a lot of the problem. Parents need to be parents, and that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, because all what you gotta do is just you have to give a reason to be arrested, and the rest is already in their hands, basically.
Yeah,
And
no, I agree. And again, I'm not saying this as a bad person against parents, because I know parenting itself is a major job. I'm a parent. I know.
yeah,
And it's not fun, especially if you got special needs. So basically what I'm getting at is that the parents need to have a little bit more patience. Just don't, as soon as they turn 18
Yeah.
and they're mouthy and they're bratty, don't kick them off in the street. Keep them home and deal with the stuff when they're teenagers. I know it's hard. I know it's a hard thing to try to keep control of your kids, but we don't need any more youth going to jail. That's just how it is. It stops in the home.
this solution seems as a solution. Like if you cannot change the situation, change your attitude toward it. Basically, like
There you go.
if you don't want to feed the wolf, stop feeding the wolf.
Right. And again, I blame not just the parents. I also blame the internet. I blame social media. I blame the news. Because when you turn on the TV, all you see is drama. And then of course, nothing against TikTok, but TikTok's another bad place. I mean, you got almost half naked females dancing around, prattling around on TikTok, and kids are watching this stuff, so look, I just explained to you in so many different ways how we can stop it from happening, but
Absolutely.
these kids idolize these people. They mimic and mock them, and then they go out and act up and do the same thing they're doing because they think it's cool.
Yep.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for dedicating your time to this interview. Thank you for so deep and clever answers. I hope everybody can see through what you and I wish you all the best. I will keep following your work. Your work is amazing. Thank you for what you're doing. Prisoners do need us for sure. And I pray that this world will get better and we will see that with our own eyes.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. It's a very, very busy job, what I do. I don't really post a lot of my work behind the scenes because I don't think it's necessary. But when I do, I post videos that are educational and important for the masses to understand what's going on. And I think it needs to be out there more than it is currently right now. And again, the truth needs to have its day. I think drama sells more than truth does. And I think we need to flip that and let the truth have its day once in a blue moon, if that makes any sense. So I think that, to be honest with you, and I appreciate what you're doing too. If you are a prison activist, thank you. If you are here to use your voice and help bring awareness and educate the individuals for what's going on inside of our prisons, again, my hat's off to you. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. My pleasure, Jay.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. We'll do this next time.
Sure.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Oops, let me pause that again. I don't know why it started back up on that. But as you guys can see, in its entirety right there, you guys can see firsthand what we're dealing with. Great line of questioning, all of that going on right now in our prisons. And I've touched base on this, and you can clearly see that she's in agreement with what I said on some of these answers to her questions. She's aware of what's going on. So she's another person that's woke and understands what's going on in our system and how corrupt and how bad it really is, folks. You heard me touch base on the youth and why our kids and teenagers and people of 18 and under are going to jail and prison. You can see right there. It's been proven with facts and backed up with science that these people that go out and commit crimes, in a sense, from a scientific aspect, do not know what the hell they're doing at that age. Anything under the age of 25, you don't know what you're doing. And people can argue with me on that all they want. But the fact of the matter is, folks, when you're under 25, your brain is the last organ in the human body that gets fully developed. And that's a fact. I'm not making that up. Look it up and do your own research. It's there. It's been backed up by science, and I have a lot of respect for science on all avenues. Okay? So it's a no-brainer, ladies and gentlemen. You can see what we deal with on a daily basis. And if we can nip this crap in the butt from a scientific aspect, such as the human brain and the maturity level and all of that, I bet without any hesitation or doubt in my own mind that we can stop crime from happening in the first place. It starts in the home. Personally, if it was my personal opinion, kids under 18 or even kids 18 shouldn't be on social media. That's just my personal opinion. Because it starts there. It starts when you turn on the TV. It starts when you watch music videos. It starts everywhere that get these kids to do what they do. This shit's not born. It's taught. So I'll say that again. These kids act up not when they come out of the womb. They're not born to have an attitude. They grow up on it. They mimic and copy other people. We've all done it. We have all idolized somebody, a favorite rock star or movie star. But now, because of social media and internet and all that, ladies and gentlemen, you can see firsthand what we're dealing with. And again, you can see it. It's a no-brainer. But anyways, I hope you guys really technically have enjoyed this podcast for tonight. I know it's not a very important topic or podcast in itself from what I've done before, but I want you guys to understand that I do a mixed bag of everything. So you're going to come across sometime me doing videos such as this, or interviews such as this, or podcasts such as this. So again, if you guys have a show idea, or you have a personal question that you want to ask me and you don't want to put it in the live chat or the chat below or the comment section below of this video, then hit me up in my email. Okay? I look forward to your guys' comments. It helps out the show. It helps me out. Helps out the channel. I don't have any problem for you guys reaching out to me. Please do so. I have a brand new office phone now for our studio. You can get a hold of me there too as well. What I'll do is I'll put my office number in an email. I thought about it during this video if I should put the office number in the description of this video you're watching here right now, but unfortunately I still have haters and trolls and I don't want them to have that number. It could turn out to be a bad thing. But with that being said, however, I'm going to go ahead and put it in an email. If you want to contact me on a more personal, I will give you that number and we'll go from there. But reach out to me. Again, our email, ladies and gentlemen, to contact me on a more personal note, like I've said before, is voicesfrominsideout@gmail.com. Again, our email to contact us is voicesfrominsideout@gmail.com. All one word. Let's hook up. Let's do something. Let's do a podcast together if you got an idea. Let's use not only my voice, but let's use your voices. Let's get this stuff out here. Let's do what we need to do. Let's bring real change to our system. With that said, I'm your host, Jay. I will see you all in the next video. Good night, everybody.